welcome back to another episode of the Higher Level Podcast. So just joining us this evening, we have DOUGIE SCOTT, and DOUGIE SCOTT owns Back to Balance, and we just wanted to get you on and chat a wee bit about you, your company, and just a few other things. So thanks very much for coming on, DOUGIE.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Just straight off the bat, obviously, I know Back to Balance works closely with some of the higher level athletes. Can you just tell us a wee bit about what it is you do and just sort of what got you into that field of work?
Yeah, so Back to Balance is a pain management and wellness clinic. I sponsor a couple of the guys out at a higher level. So really, it's a clinic that helps anybody that's suffering pain, sports injuries, to any functionality disorders. I'm also trained in holistic lifestyle coaching, so I coach people with their diet, with their movement, things like that. So yeah, it's a kind of be-all. We kind of try and have it as a hub of wellness, so that's how we run it in Back to Balance.
So realistically then, is it trying to help people improve, not just physically, but mentally, and it's just, like you say, it's general all-round well-being?
Yeah, 100%. I see so many times in the clinic, people that are, they've got chronic pain, say it's back pain or whatever, but they're just not in that mentality place where they're in a place for healing, be it stress. And also once you've got people, it's that intimate in the clinic. When you've got people on the table, they tend to open up quite a bit, and they must just feel safe. And you get, kind of all their worries out there, and you learn how many people are actually out there suffering with mental illness.
Yeah, and I guess that sort of is like a lot of things at the moment is very much highlighted under the current circumstances. And is it something you're noticing? Are you getting more people contacting you, seeing it with more people you've worked with in the past? Is it becoming more apparent how much the situation is affecting people's mental well-being?
Yeah, definitely. With everything that's going on with COVID, yeah, I think it's ramped everything up. I think quite a lot of society, we live off distraction, and definitely the early parts of lockdown where there was no sport, the pubs were shut, everything, people really struggled being left with their own thoughts, whether that's an overactive mind with anxiety or some dark thoughts, they're maybe feeling a bit depressed.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like obviously gyms aren't back open yet, but sometimes you feel like the government doesn't realise how big a part gyms play, not just mixed martial art gyms, but just gyms in general, whether it be just going on a treadmill, maybe lifting weights, how much that really helps people.
100%. 100%.
Do you kind of feel that that's been overlooked in the current situation? Because we are seeing, in terms of suicide rates and all that sort of stuff, and I'm assuming addiction rates are up as well. Do you feel like that all coincides with the gyms being closed, or that plays a big part of it, rather?
I think it plays a massive part. I think gyms are, I say distraction for some people, but, the literature's out there about how good exercise is for your mental health, not just your physical health. Having the gym shut, I honestly can't get my head around it, why it's so late. My only thinking is for the pubs being open, and that's just a total economic, that's an economic reason why they've opened up. But yeah, they've totally disregarded people's mental health and physical health when it comes to gyms not being open. Yeah,
and I think regarding why they're not open, and you touched briefly on the economic side of things in terms of like alcohol is heavily taxed. I don't think there's any other reason than that one, that they are open, because I've spoke to a couple of people, and a couple of people said, well, it's hard to social distance at gyms, and I would argue that 10 drunk people in a room is almost impossible to social distance. So that's, I believe, the only reasons they would have bars open and not gyms.
Yeah.
And James, for you, we're talking about how much gyms and MMA gyms help people's mental well-being. For you, if you're having a bad day and you come into the gym and just spend a bit of time hitting the bag and maybe get some frustrations out, how much do you feel better after that?
I need to do it pretty much on a daily basis, or I can feel myself slumping into, I don't know if it probably is on some level depression, but and then I can feel that shit snowballing and stuff like that, and it grows arms and legs pretty quick. So just even my decision making and stuff like that, it isn't good if I've no exercise on a daily basis. And I know that for so many people, gyms are offering that to people. It's almost like not an escape, but a release, and then the hormones produced through exercise and stuff like that is helpful. And what Dougie was saying there about clients coming in, and as soon as they're on the couch, kind of opening up, they go in with like a physical ailment, and really pretty quickly it becomes almost like an emotional thing. That's the exact same when I'm in here with people, with whether it's PTs or students. They'll come in and train, and it's very common for guys to stay back and like, can I speak to you about this, or this is going on at work or in the house or whatever, and exercise for these guys is making that manageable. And when you take that away, for some people, problems in life become very quickly unmanageable, and as a result of that, you're seeing people sliding towards addiction to drugs or alcohol, or looking for other escapes that aren't as healthy as exercise. Or in this area, like we're almost 5 months or whatever in the lockdown, and there's been so many young people committing suicide and attempted suicide and stuff like that just in this West Lothian area. I've been getting messages to the gym page, which I spoke of this before, of multiple people just reaching out for help. And it's a total oversight by the government that they've not considered the effect physically, obviously, and obviously, more importantly, mentally, because it's maybe not as noticeable for these people. But the damage it's doing is very bad, man. It's just it's sad, to be honest, but there's a lot of people suffering because of it.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is, like, Dougie, I'm sure you're doing a job you love, and James, you always wanted to be a coach, and you got there, and even when you love your job, there comes days where there's levels of frustration and it's not always easy. But sometimes you look at people that maybe are working in a 9-to-5 office job, maybe the money's good, they don't really like the job, and but when they finish, they get to go to a gym, they get to do something, and it gets all the frustrations out, and so they get to unload that at a gym. Whereas now they're maybe back at work, and then they don't have that outlet. That's something I was thinking about, how difficult that might be to people. That it's kind of like, for some people, the gym's an addiction in itself, a healthy addiction. It's like just immediately removing somebody that's addicted to alcohol or something like that. But the gym is an addiction for some people, and a good one. And removing that is kind of unhealthy, I would imagine.
Yeah, just like what you said there, James, that if you don't enjoy your job, even on a biochemistry and physiological way, you're pumping yourself through stress hormones with adrenaline, and the gym is a way of burning that out. If you don't get that release, it's still pumping through your body, and you don't get that release. This can then manifest as physical pain or even illness. So yeah, there's a lot more into why we exercise rather than just trying to get your six-pack or whatever. It's definitely an emotional release. I know I definitely used boxing and MMA after my time in the military, as I was quite an angry person, and it was the emotional release for me. It was to get rid of that emotion and, play it out, kind of thing. If you've not got that, then you suffer.
Yeah, and again, it touches on that thing about physical and mental well-being, because it sometimes feels like if you have a healthy mind and your mind's balanced and happy, I guess, does that then trickle down into your body and physically? Do you notice that somebody that's mentally happy or just enjoying life, or whatever sort of term you want to use for it, that they seem to be physically better?
100%. I think, to be honest, the saying, when you say mental health, people straight away, they start thinking depression, anxiety, and all the negatives, the bad things. Whereas actually, mental health, we've all got mental health. You and I, James, we've all got mental health, just like we have physical health. And we should be working on our mental health just as much as we work on our physical health. And you can't be physically healthy if you're not mentally healthy, and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I guess it's like the company name. It's back to balance. It shows how important that balance truly is.
Yeah, definitely, and it's why myself and my colleague James Arson, we started Man Clan just before lockdown. So unfortunately, we're yet to have a physical meeting as of yet, and we had to, because of lockdown, we had to kind of do it in a roundabout way, back to front. And we've kind of started an online platform. So we've been doing Zoom meetings every Sunday for people that may be struggling. And yeah, it's been well attended. The group chats that we're having, we're putting quite a lot of good content out there to help people self-regulate their nervous system, things like guided meditations, breathwork sessions, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and so for just to stay on the Man Clan, is there anywhere, is there something people can look at to maybe get involved in that, people that don't know about it at the moment?
Yeah, so Man Clan is on Facebook, and we have a private Facebook group for anybody that would like to join, to be honest. It's open to everybody. We also have an Instagram, and we actually have our own podcast. We're only 2 episodes in, the Balanced Emotions podcast, so yeah, we're looking to get more guests on there and spread the word. It's the whole thing around Man Clan is obviously to help men try and open up, but we are a men's group with a difference. We aren't just a talk group. We aren't just let's meet and talk about it. We actually want to do the work. We give people some tips how to self-regulate and do some work on working on our resilience and things like that. So we're excited to get started whenever the gyms decide to open or whatever, because we are, thanks to James, we're going to be doing it out of higher level.
That's brilliant. And when did you get involved or speak to Dougie about this?
Right at the start, pretty much. Just I've known Dougie for a long time. He's obviously trained with us, he fought for us and stuff, and the thing that interests me about him, and a lot of people don't know his background, is when you speak about that, with men opening up and stuff like that, there's a stigma with it that like almost like men on the men to talk, and it's almost like a sign of weakness and stuff. But if you knew Dougie's background, his military background and stuff like that, and then obviously coming into MMA, without sounding like daft or anything, but you can't really get much more manly than a guy that was a commando in the Marines, and then come out of that and then started fighting in cages for something today. So I think that the fact his background and he's getting men to do this is massive. It's not like somebody, he's done stuff that most men will never do, and he's seen stuff and whatever else that most men will never have to put up with. And the fact he started the Man Clan thing up it's just needed. Do you know what I mean? It's something that people need. I've seen them in other areas, similar things. It was just a no-brainer. Like if Dougie's going to run it, then any way I can help him, I'm definitely going to help him, because I know people that'll be able to use that, and it'll be great for them. So anything we can do to help with that is going to be there.
That's excellent. And you mentioned there, James, obviously it's that stigma around men, but as men, do we sometimes put that on ourselves and we let our ego get in the way? We open up. It's because I've been there myself where I've been down, and I won't go into details of that, and I kind of don't want to talk because you do feel it's almost like an embarrassment as well, and it can be sometimes hard for you to look at yourself and try and admit that you need help. It's a difficult thing, and obviously it's not to say that's not prevalent in women, but it seems to be more at the forefront with men. It just seems like sometimes it's our egos that get in the way, getting the help we need.
I see a lot with fighters, to be honest. The game that I'm involved with is massively mental, and when you start getting to decent levels with it, the pressure involved with it is incredible. And the guys that don't have an outlet for that and can't speak about it and explain why stuff's happening to them and stuff like that, they can get dragged under with it. Whereas the guys I've had success with, they can discuss and tell you exactly what's happening with them mentally, and they can deal with it. on a level that they can still compete and affect their quality of life in general. So usually when we're dealing with fighters in the gym, they might only have a shelf life of maybe 5 to 10 years. Some guys will not even fight for 10 years. But when they're done with those 10 years, they're going away for the sport equipped with coping strategies and whatever else to deal with stuff for the rest of their life, whether it's kind of mental issues or decision making or stress issues or whatever. So there's like a real correlation for me between fighting and what Dougie's trying to do with the man clan thing. And it's like this idea that a man can't talk about stuff or is seen as being soft or weak, I think is terrible, because I know guys in here that are, again, they're fighting in cages for tens of thousands of pounds across the world, and they'll come and tell me stuff like they'll pour their heart out, and it's like you can't get stronger than these guys, but they're really open and honest about that stuff, and I think that's the way everybody should be. And I notice that more young people tend to deal with it better than people in my age. I'm like 42 now, and I sometimes think I'm maybe a wee bit old-fashioned with the way I look at certain things, but it looks like even conversating with my 13-year-old or 14-year-old now, he can talk in ways that I would never have been able to talk when I was 14 or 24 or 34. He's better at putting stuff across, and maybe the stigma that he faces isn't the same as what it was when I was that age.
No, I would definitely agree with that. I would definitely, obviously, Dougie, I don't know what age you are. I'm hitting my late 30s as well, and I do think there is a generational thing here. I think maybe our generation might be that last generation that kind of is that way you say, James, and maybe the younger people, hopefully the younger people can deal with it and speak about it a lot better than we could.
Yeah, I think so. I'm 34, by the way, but I think what James was touching on there with the guys that are making it to the top level, it's emotional intelligence. And for his son that's able to verbalise that, this is, I think it all comes down to our programming. And in Scotland, we are so bad. I mean, I don't want to say this derogatory word, but it's in our programming. I was one of the worst that would say something like this. And it's, if you talk about your feelings or don't do that, that's gay. Or, self-care, that meditation stuff, that's gay, whatever, and just kind of shun it. But it is absolutely fantastic for you. And if you have the emotional intelligence to know actually what's going on with you and be able to verbalise it, that takes so much courage to open up and be vulnerable. And I think it's fantastic that you get guys, like Stevie Ray, who's, he's outspoken with his troubles with depression and that's only going to help change this narrative that, men should, bottle things up. And I think the reason men as well are we do bottle it up is women tend to speak about their emotions more and their troubles with mental health. So guys automatically put on this persona that they are maybe the rock in the relationship, or they don't want to open up because you might set your missus off, or you might set, your sister off, or whatever. So we bottle it up. It's just what we do. And we're trying to change that narrative. That's one thing for Man Clan, is we want to change that narrative. And, we don't need people that are in crisis. Like I was saying earlier, we've all got mental health, emotional health. Let's come and work on it and get better. Exactly. So you don't need to be suffering down here, suicidal. Come along to Man Clan and work on yourself so you don't ever get there.
That's what I was going to say then, because going to something like Man Clan, you may not be at that. You might have just had a bad day or something like that. But are you looking to then, like you say, provide people with the tools to recognise if they get to a certain stage and have those tools to combat that and understand it and fight it, I guess?
Yeah, exactly. So it's myself and my colleague James Allison. He's actually an emotional health coach. So it's being able to realise what emotions, what's driving you to do. It could be addiction, it could be, self-harming. What emotions driving you to do this? And we don't need to keep, reliving traumas and things. But in Man Clan, again, you don't need to be at that level. You could be striving to be a world champion. Some of the MMA guys that I'm working with, Back to Balance, they're well into going here, go deeper with meditation, learn breath work, how to regulate their nervous system, do the cold exposure training to hack into their stress response and become more resilient to stressors in life. So that's the type of thing we want to promote at Man Clan.
Brilliant. Sorry, there we go, James.
I think what you're looking for there is, it's almost like you don't need to wait until you're standing on the edge of a building about to jump off to start addressing this stuff. It's like a prehabilitation thing instead of rehabilitation. It's like you can start it right now. It doesn't matter what. It's the same with physical stuff. It doesn't matter what state you're in. Just get working on it right now. And small, a lot of the kind of mental stuff, to me anyway, came really natural. It was almost organic to me when I was fighting, like visualization and self-talk and controlling my breath. And nobody ever taught me that. It came really natural, which sounds weird, but you don't need to wait until you're at the end of the rope before you need to start doing that stuff. Everybody should be looking at adding bits and pieces in now, and it's even small daily changes to routine and stuff like that, I think make a big difference. And what I've seen with my guys that work with Dougie especially is they're going to be ahead of the game with this kind of stuff, whether it's the breathing stuff or the rehabilitation stuff or any of the emotional well-being stuff that he's doing with them. You're going to notice that coming through in sports, but more importantly, it's going to help these guys have a better standard of life. They're going to be able to relate to people better. They're going to be happier people, which is what you want. It's the same as what I'm trying to do with the gym. I'm trying to provide a platform for people to come in, de-stress, and then go away happier. And a big thing is you don't need to wait until shit's about to hit the fan to deal with that. You can start now and just get it in check before it becomes a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, and James 100%. As well. How big a difference have you noticed in some of the guys that are going over to Back to Balance and over to see Dougie and work with them? Have you noticed a big difference from the point you started to where they're at now?
Yeah, definitely, man. I can see it sounds cliche, but they're more balanced. Like the physical side's very easy for me to see. Even the technical side, in terms of how they're performing martial arts skills and stuff like that, but they're just better. Like, it's just like they're better people just to be around. But they're not scared to sit and like Mark Ewan and stuff, and that'll sit after training, stretch out, and then he's meditating and stuff like that. He's making notes, and that kind of stuff will stand these guys in good stead. And what I find is that a lot of guys neglect that side of the game. They'll come into a gym and they'll overtrain physically, end up getting injured and stuff like that. They'll maybe train mentally to a degree, but they're leaving their emotional well-being. But they're not thinking about it too much. In a sport like this, where there's so much pressure to succeed, and usually if you fuck up, you get hurt. Like physically, you're going to get hurt, and people don't realise the mental baggage that comes with this sport as well. So it's going to help these guys cope with stuff better and make better decisions, and just be more professional about approaching their career as well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. And Dougie, you've also got Mark Ewan working with you. What guys have you got out from higher level working with you at the moment? Yeah,
so I work with quite a lot of them, but the three guys that I sponsor is Mark Ewan, Luke Shanks and Keir Harvey at the minute. But I get loads in and out of the clinic. I don't really want to disclose who's been in and stuff, but yeah, I've had quite a lot of them in, and a lot of it, they've got physical ailments here, but we start talking on the mental health side, type of things and emotions and that, and I think they all get something out of the session rather than just the physical treatment.
And if nothing else, Luke Shanks is an entertaining character to be around, so I can only imagine how much fun you're having with Luke.
Sometimes trying to get it into his head and stuff, and he likes to have a bit of a carry on or whatever, and we're trying to be serious. Yeah, but top guy.
Yeah, obviously Luke's got obviously a massive fight coming off, a title fight at Cage Warriors, one that could ultimately propel him into the UFC. So how much are you there when you see looking at us about trying to just mentally prepare them for stuff like that? Are you just in there to tweak what you can and help them where you can?
Yeah, to be honest, I would say it's around, I'd say 60% is actually mentally when I've got him on the table, because, you know, he does keep himself healthy, and when he's on, it's always just to try and do the prehab stuff, really, or any little niggles, you know, that you get out of training camp. But most it's just having some conversations. How are you actually feeling emotionally? Are you feeling drained with the weight cut, things like that? And it's even just an offload for him, to be honest. You know, people are asking these questions. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's saying to his head coach James all this as well, but just to somebody else, you know, somebody else's perspective can help.
Yeah, and James, do you think that is something that benefits the fighters? They can come to you and speak to you about stuff, or they've got other options, Dougie being one of them. They can go and speak to Dougie, just having different people they can go and chat to.
It definitely helps having a support network. Like, there's been fighters I've dealt with before, and it's pretty much just been me, and it means that I'm having to fill multiple roles, which is problematic. But the strength of our team now, and the number of different characters in it, having somebody like Dougie as part of the support network is a massive thing. And what you'll find is with certain guys, look, what I get for Luke is he's a really hard-working kid. His work ethics and the sacrifices he makes for where he wants to be with this Cage Warriors World title. Like, I don't need to get into. He moved country to come here and train. He's lived and slept in the gym in spells. But me and Luke don't have that relationship where he'll open up about stuff. And I'm aware of this, 100% aware of it. So I can see stuff in that, but I know when he goes to Dougie, if he's getting some of that baggage off his shoulders or whatever, then it benefits him and me, and that's ultimately what we want. We want him to be successful. And Dougie wants the same things. He wants Luke to be successful, and it just helps. So there's some guys who will come to me and speak about certain things like that, but Luke, I wouldn't say what I get for Luke is the hard-working guy in the gym, and then the joker. He'll mess about with his daft shoes and his crazy hair and whatever else. Show me what he's been up to on Tinder and stuff like that. But if you can go next door to Dougie and be serious with him and talk about that stuff, then it's good for everybody.
James, I've got to say, you must need to go and speak to somebody after having a look at Luke's Tinder. That you'll maybe need to go and speak to Dougie yourself after that. Jesus,
I'll be a fucking priest. I need to go to.
That's awesome. And for you, Dougie, I mean, obviously this is your profession, and this is what you've chosen to do. But you must really enjoy doing this. You must see the stuff you're doing. When you go to help somebody and you see it's benefit them, and they're physically, mentally getting better and getting healthier, obviously body and mind, you must get something back out of that. That must be a good feeling for you.
100%. Why I do what I do. Initially, I thought want to stay involved in sports. So you're looking at sports therapy side of things to keep involved in sports, but it's just evolved so much more than that. And my purpose, I feel, is to help people like this, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally. Just have a holistic view of helping people's well-being, you know. But yeah, I get a lot out of helping people. Yeah.
So is it then? I hate using this word. I don't know if it feels corny or not, but is this more like a calling for you than anything else?
Yeah, I would definitely, yeah. I spent time in the military a lot. I loved it, and then I was actually a prison officer, and again I kind of fell into that role after the military because I had a mortgage to pay, but I quickly knew maybe a couple of years in that it wasn't a long-term thing for me, so I started investing in myself and doing studying part-time, to the point where I could actually leave the job and go full-time. I had a very supportive wife, so yeah, left and went solo, and I've not looked back. This is 100% the best thing I've ever done, and yeah, like you said, it feels like a calling. Yeah,
brilliant. And sorry, James, on you go.
You know, this that sounds like me describing coaching, to be honest. It's like it comes really natural. It feels like a calling. But what you said earlier about you, and I remember you and your brother, maybe not as much as you, but I remember you being that angry young guy, like when you first started training and fighting, and it's something happened in between now and then that's kind of calmed that anger down, and like it's completely flipped now because you're going about helping people and stuff now. Whereas you do have that. At one point, you were like an angry wee fucker.
Yeah.
You get into cages to fight, and it didn't seem to faze you at all. And you're always mentally strong that way. But is it just maybe with age or having a family or something? Maybe it's not softened you, but it's changed your perspective a wee bit.
I think it's a combination with age and really just education. I think, when I was fighting, I think the reason I didn't get anywhere with it was I was really fighting on that emotion of anger. I would get myself worked up out there. I wasn't a cerebral fighter. I wasn't there. I was just there to try and take somebody's head off. And you only get so far with that, as you know yourself. And I started to just kind of look inwards and say, I do this just for my anger. It's a coping mechanism for my anger. And it was an emotional addiction. I enjoyed getting angry. I enjoyed hitting things, enjoyed all this. And I think what's softened me, let's say, is really just education and saying that it's not healthy. It's not healthy to be living as an angry person, and it's going to start to manifest as anything. You see people around me, the same age and stuff, and they're getting terminal illnesses or chronic diseases, and you're like, what is going on? So it was kind of just, I think it was definitely it was a bit of age and a bit of education to realise and looking inwards to change.
Perfect. And during the whole pandemic as well, Dougie, has this been a difficult period? I know how difficult it's obviously it's not been easy for you, James. We've kind of spoke off here and stuff like that, but how difficult this has been with just obviously gyms not opening up and stuff like that. How has it been for you and your business Back to Balance, Dougie?
Yeah, well, it's to be honest, the first kind of 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I actually quite enjoyed it. It was a time for kind of self-reflection and, like I said, no distraction. Where people were struggling, I actually enjoyed. It was time where I could. I'm busy in the clinic and running Man Clan now and stuff. So it was a time just to kind of slow the pace down. Do my meditations and just exercise myself. Look at James let me take some things for the gym, so I could have a little bit of exercise in my flat. But I enjoyed the first 4 weeks, and then it started to hit me a little bit that there was a lot of people messaging saying if I was open. They were also messaging if I could do, but I'll not tell anybody, just can you fix my back and stuff like that. And it was hard to turn people away that you knew were in pain. But it also gave me the opportunity, although in a back to front kind of way, to run with Man Clan, get it open, do the online stuff, help people, and I've been inundated with messages of how much it's helping, the content's helping, or even people opening up one-to-one with me, and also the Zoom classes on a Sunday that people have been attending and really enjoying. So it was tough financially, tough as well. Managed to get a little bit of help off the government, but it only just lasted. If I was like the gyms are or something, I would have really, really struggled financially. So we just managed it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think financially has obviously been a big part of this. I'm assuming that's been the cause of a lot of people's mental health deteriorating over this, the finances, and boredom as well. Is like, financially I was okay through this, but what I noticed was boredom was the big thing. Just being stuck in the house, and I've got psoriasis, and my psoriasis has never been worse than it is now, and I think it's just through
stress.
That's exactly it. Stress, stress, and although mine's is a very minor thing, it's an irritation. But and James, you've said in the past as well, it's been for you, James. It's been the uncertainty things, the not knowing when they're going to actually do anything.
It's a massive thing, man. It's just like your future and stuff's out of your control. I'm not like a control freak, but I have an element of control over most stuff normally. Or you can prepare for stuff as much as possible. Like again, like take it back to like a fight. You can never control what happens in a fight, but you can prepare for it as best as possible and go in ready for it. Whereas with this, it's like we had plans in place about a week into the lockdown back in March, how we were going to make areas, social distancing areas into 2 metre squares, have the hand sanitisers, the one-way system, temperature check. We had this within place about 5 or 6 days after the lockdown, and it's now coming up for 6 months. We've no idea what's happening. We're looking at England back training. Wales went back last week. Ireland's back and stuff like that. And it's just that it's waiting on somebody else telling you what you can and what you can't do. I find weird because normally with our business and stuff, I can control it or even predict what's going to happen to an extent or prepare for it. But with this, it's like you're just waiting. You're just waiting on somebody making decisions for you. And you end up getting frustrated because they're not making the decisions. They keep going on about science and stuff like that, but they're not giving you any logical reason why they're making these decisions. If they did, I'd confirm whatever they wanted. But it's like you're just waiting on somebody making decisions that dictate your future. And that's as an adult, that's a weird thing. It's almost like you're a kid waiting for your parents to tell you what's going to happen, what school you're going to go to, or whatever like that. But it is what it is. It's everybody's in the same boat to an extent. And whatever happens, we'll just need to deal with it when it comes.
Yeah, that's it. And it doesn't help when you see the likes of Aberdeen going into a sort of lockdown again because of situations at bars, and you're like, oh, fucking hell, man. You know what I mean? We're shot in it. I'm pretty sure we could do it pretty safely, as safe as you can under these times, but I guess that's a prerogative of the Scottish Government, and I don't think there's much they can do at the moment to change that.
Yeah.
But we can only hope things get better. But if nothing else, we've got a 10-man QFC tournament to look forward to. I did see that. I mean, there's nothing else. But I mean, God forbid anybody gets hurt. But Jesus Christ, if nothing else has come out of this lockdown, we've been graced with QFC quarantine fight club. So we've got a 10-man tournament. Winner gets a T-shirt, I believe. Last man standing. And then what was the roller skate one?
6v1 on roller skates Saturday, 4 o'clock, YouTube.
I'm laughing here like this is silly, but I'm definitely watching that. I'm 100% watching that.
I should be getting a T-shirt. I've not missed a week of that. I've watched week 1 was in a field. Even when I was on Fight Island and stuff like that, me and Danny watched it at the hotel. I've not missed a single week of it, man.
You've got to hear that top fan badge soon. I bet you've actually been offered it already and you've just not put it on.
I can't wait, that's what I'm aiming for. Although I've seen they guys have just got like 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think they're on YouTube this week. So I don't know how they've managed to get there before us, the fuckers.
Hey, listen, we'll just need to get the one to steal a bit of their thunder. Well, I mean, I know there's probably got to be folk out there outraged about it. It's shocking, but if nothing else, if folk are tuning in and nobody's getting seriously hurt, hopefully it stays that way, but if folk are tuning in and it's giving them a bit of enjoyment and a giggle for 20 minutes, half an hour, it is what it is, isn't it?
It would be it anyway, even if we weren't watching it. Like, stuff like that's always went on, to be fair.
Aye, listen, you get to Glasgow or get to Edinburgh, there's QFC happening every other weekend, so just happens to be somebody's filming it now and they're sober, I think.
Aye.
I think. So, just sort of wrap up on that, unless is there anything else you want to add at the moment, anything else you want to come in with, James or Dougie?
Dougie, you go first.
Not really, to be honest. We are, waiting for the gyms to open so that we can get our Man Clan sessions up and running. That's going to be a bi-weekly meeting on a Sunday afternoon at a higher level. But again, it's all subject to change. We need to just wait and see what happens with the gyms opening. It's hopefully not too far around the corner. But yeah, that's it really.
I'll just let you jump in a minute, James. And obviously, Dougie, once Man Clan's up and running and we've got a bit more normality, we'll obviously come back on the show and can chat about it. And hopefully, we can do this in person rather than via Zoom.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be great.
And James, just for you, if you want to round off the episode.
Higher level MMA does not condone QFC in any shape or form. But we do watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody else, listen, this has been, it was weird to say a fun episode, but I think it's an important thing to chat about under these current circumstances. So as always, guys, thank you very much for tuning into the show.